Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Ne0 Gets to Know. Of course, the series right into pros from every scenario, every scene, every game, and every role within it. And of course, I've got my first interview in 2022, my first interview with Valorant, and of course, my first interview with a female, StarrieBun. Thank you very much for joining me.
Hi, thank you for having me.
First of all, gotta ask, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I cannot complain. I'm loving the merch as well. I'm a big fan. I might have to pick some up myself.
Oh, yeah, no, this was one of the newer launches, and I was really excited to get this because it's actually like really, really comfortable.
Fair enough. It looks good. I might have to pick one up. I'm don't normally suit white, but I think I can probably give it an example, or it can go behind me up here. So
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And use code StarrieBun at checkout.
there we
Yep.
go, ladies and gentlemen. Go and check it out. Xset, co-StarrieBun, all the good stuff. Let's get straight into it. We'll start, of course, with Valorant. I think that's probably the easiest place to kick things started. So how did you go from just kind of any old person in the US, just kind of pugging with your friends, doing whatever, to now becoming kind of one of the most notable pros within Valorant, part of the Xset organization, and a kind of making a name for yourself?
It's actually a really cool, interesting, funny story, I would say, because I actually wanted to pursue Valorant as a content creator. So I really worked hard on my stream and my TikTok, which all kind of like blew up. And then I started playing in tournaments for fun, and that's kind of where I got a little bit of recognition
Sure.
for how well I was performing. And then I ended up really loving the competing aspect. So I started pursuing that instead of content creation, and then I ended up getting signed.
There we go. I mean, so for you as well, would you have been happy with just sticking with content creation, or did you always kind of have that competitive drive about you?
I think for me, I've played sports because I used to play volleyball, so I feel
Oh,
like I
same.
am very, very competitive. So I feel like even though content creation is great, and I do love the content creation aspect, like streaming, making videos,
Yeah.
I also just really love the feeling of competing.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I've got to ask, just a complete side topic. What position were you in volleyball? I also play volleyball,
Oh, I was like the libero or defensive
so am
specialist.
I. There we go. Who would have
Let's
known? There we
go.
go. It's things in common already. So coming in towards Valorant, I guess just generally FPS games. What was your influence coming through? Was there any sort of notable names that you took after, tried to replicate, or any kind of people that you saw as your idol coming in towards the scene?
So actually when Valorant first came out, I really knew I wanted to make the switch because I know for Counter-Strike, the scene was kind of small, so it was hard to
Sure.
kind of get much recognition for everything. So I kind of followed in the footsteps of like Asu, because when
Okay.
Apex came
Classic.
out and he switched over, he grinded the game so hard and he kind of proved that he was like a really good player and then he got really big. And I
Sure.
knew that that's kind of what I wanted to do with Valorant. So when I made the switch, I made sure that like I streamed all the time, I grinded the game, I tried to get to the highest rank possible. And yeah.
There we go. Okay, fair enough. And was there any sort of, you mentioned about ASU, but within the women's scene as well, was there anyone that kind of you really took after, or you kind of early doors coming in towards Valorant, you're like, they're an amazing player. I really like the way they play.
For women's, I definitely did really, really look up to like the Dignitas team because I know they were
Sure.
trying to juggle both Counter-Strike and Valorant when they first transitioned. And I just love how hard like their work ethic is, and all those girls are amazing and nice, and they're insane at the game.
Mhm.
So they're a really big inspiration for me.
You mentioned as well that you kind of like you made that change from content creation towards professional play. What was that road like when you were making that switch, when you started to be picked up in terms of organizations? How kind of hard was it coming through in those very very early stages, going from just being a content creator, playing for fun, to then really having to grind competitively, practice, a lot of outside of the server stuff as well. How was that?
I feel like the adjustment from content creation to getting into pro play was a little difficult because I had to learn how to manage my time a little better.
Sure.
I have to kind of let go of my time for content creation and put it more towards competing and getting signed.
Right.
And
Yeah.
now that am signed, I kind of have a lot more leeway and freedom to kind of pursue more content creation. I feel like I was grinding so hard to get signed and
Hmm.
I was like working so hard to show that like my team and I were like the best that
Yeah.
I kind of let content creation go. So it's just finding a balance that was like really hard for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of on that note as well. How kind of for as a player like yourself, who you want to compete competitively, of course, and can start grinding out. How big of a people talk about the org buff? When you have an org under yourself, it kind of gives you a lot of confidence. You feel a lot of pressure off your shoulders because you're no longer kind of in limbo. How big of a thing was that for you?
It was really big for us. For we got signed right before Game Changer Series
Hmm.
3, like literally the week before. And when we got signed, we all felt like a pressure being lifted off our shoulders. Like we were
Right.
working
Yeah.
so hard to get an org's attention and tell them like, we're worth signing for.
Hmm.
And once we got signed, we got fourth place in that tournament, which is the highest we've ever placed for Game Changers that we've played in as a team.
And for
So
you
it's
as
it's
well.
very real.
Yeah, I can. I've heard it, on Twitter. That's like a big thing, the org buff, and I think it makes a big difference for yourself. Though you mentioned CS:GO as well. Kind of how did that transition come as well? You're talking about the scene being quite small. Was when you saw Valorant come through as being a very similar marketed game. Was it for you a new opportunity, a kind of a breath of fresh air sort of thing?
It definitely was a big breath of fresh air. I felt like Riot does a really good job with their games. I used to play League of Legends a lot.
Yeah.
So I knew that they were going to put a lot of time and effort into the game,
Mhm.
whereas CS:GO, I felt like the
Not so
devs
much.
didn't put as much effort,
Agreed.
and it definitely was a lot better in Valorant. Like seeing how much the devs care about the scene and
Mhm.
like seeing how much they actually listen to the community. It was really great.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. How did CS:GO come about for you? I mean, it's one of those games that people always seem to have quite interesting stories of how they got in towards CS:GO. What was it like for you?
For me, I got really into CS:GO because I went to a DreamHack in 2017
Okay,
and I watched my first Counter-Strike tournament. I've never played the game before ever.
sure.
And I was just sitting there in the crowd watching the game and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this looks so fun and I really want to get into it." And I was just
Yeah.
so hyped. So that's when I started playing Counter-Strike.
And then what? You went straight back home, installed it, and then from there you started grinding out.
Yeah, definitely. Like, because in 2017, that's when I first started getting into PC gaming, and I
Mhm.
actually bought myself my first PC. And then I went to the DreamHack because I wanted to get like the LAN experience with
Sure,
all my
sure.
friends and stuff. And then as soon as I saw Counter Strike, I was like, oh, I
That's
have
it.
to play that. So I definitely went home immediately and downloaded it.
And for you as well, kind of was the dream at one point as well to become pro within CS:GO, to become kind of one of the female pros. Like we talk about, Juliana, I think is a quite a good example. Of course, now with G2 Gazen, but in a similar stance that they were had, where they were kind of climbing the ranks of CS:GO, kind of really making names for themselves as the kind of the best female pros.
Yeah, that definitely was a goal of mine. I really wanted to be the best that I can be. And obviously, seeing like CLG Red and Dignitas,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wanted to put myself at that level. But I feel like I didn't really get up there in my standards.
Sure.
I mean, I like grinded ranks and stuff and I got as high as I could. But
Mm-hmm.
competing wise, I think I fell short on experience and I
Yeah.
didn't play in that many tournaments. But for Valorant, I knew that I wanted to do
Yeah.
differently and I wanted to put more and more time into that. So.
Mm-hmm. What drew you to FPS games over, like, you mentioned Dota and sort of League, and I guess, some others like Rainbow Six Siege, for example. What kind of drew you to Valorant and CSGO specifically rather than, your MOBAs like League and Dota?
I've been gaming ever since I was little, like Pokemon, everything,
Classic,
and
yeah.
nothing gives me as much like joy and adrenaline as FPS games. I
Mhm.
don't know,
Yeah,
something about it is just so much more fun and exciting,
for
and
sure.
I think it's also because it's very fast paced.
Mhm.
Like every time, it's going to be very different scenarios, and just I think it just keeps my attention.
Yeah, I think that's probably the safe bet coming forward as well. And I guess with Valorant as well, now you mentioned about Xset. Talk about Xset. How did this opportunity come around? You mentioned content creation. You mentioned you kind of sort of making your name for yourself in that scene. But how did the Xset offer come about? How did they, DM you? What was it off the back of? How did that whole thing start?
So X actually made a tweet that they were going to stay in the NA Valorant scene and they were
Okay.
interested in looking for a female team. So I had everybody I knew tag our team Twitter on that
Classic.
post. And they actually reached out to me on Twitter and they were like, "Hey, we've had our eye on you.
Mm.
Let's talk." And we started freaking out. I started freaking out. As
Mhm.
soon as I got that DM, I was like, "Guys, you won't believe who DM'd me. You'll believe this." And we just got the
That's
ball
it.
rolling and we ended up getting signed.
And so, what is the plan with X at the moment? Of course, there's three official members, and there's been rumors of two to join in. What is the plan? What's going on? Can you give us any insider info? What's happening with X at female?
So I'm not gonna say too much,
Okay,
but
all right.
I'm very excited. We're very, very close to actually finalizing our roster right
Mhm.
now, and we're very excited to kind of compete again and show that we've gotten upgrades and that we're gonna, dominate the scene. I'm very excited. I'm very
It's
excited.
confident. I like it. So, when should we expect to see you guys next in action? When should we expect to see you guys on the big stage, roster finalized, all of that good stuff?
Hopefully we get everything completely finalized within the end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely our next big tournament will be the next Game Changers at the end of March.
We love to see it. That's exciting news as well. So we'll keep an eye out for that. I think this interview will come out in roughly a few days. So that's already exciting things to look forward to. And I guess, you spoke about Xset itself. What is the goal for the organization? There's a lot of people look for different things. I mean, winning game changes, I think, is quite a big one. Is that something that you agree with as well? Is that really what kind of Xset as an org are looking for? Or is it building the brand or building your own brand personally? What is it?
Our goal as a team and Xset's goal for us is to be a winning team. Like
Sure.
we want to win, we want to win Game Changers, but more than that, we want to be the best. Like we want to not only be the best in the Game Changer scene, we want to compete at that tier 1 level as
Mhm.
well. So that is kind of what we're working for, and we're very grateful for Xset because they do share that same goal with us, and they want us to be a winning team. And they said, "Hey, like let us support you in any way that we can to help you reach that end goal." So we were very fortunate to have Xset support us like that.
Love to see it. And what are some of the ways that Xset do support you? I think that's one of the things that people don't really understand when you're kind of just a viewer. But how does an org kind of help you outside of course, the financial backing is one thing. But what do they do sort of outside of that?
For us, whenever they're like very good about talking to us about our needs.
For sure.
And for us, when there was the Philly LAN, I
Yeah.
think it was a couple months ago, we asked if we could go to get LAN experience,
Mhm.
and they were very happy to send us. And
Nice.
one of our CEOs actually showed up at the LAN and
Mhm.
actually supported us and stood behind us and watched us play. It
That's
was really
sick.
great. It was really supportive. But just like little things like that, like we love boot camping, and they
Mhm.
said that with every big tournament, like they'll try to help us boot camp as much as we can.
Yeah.
So that's actually like really helpful for us too.
That's awesome. How good does it feel as well to have lands back? We've had a year and a half, 2 years of COVID, just being a nuisance and land everything moving towards online. How good does it feel to kind of finally be able to slowly get back onto the big stage, be in front of a crowd, and all that good stuff?
It feels good to
Mhm.
go to a LAN. I've never really had that much LAN experience at all, and
Sure.
obviously, like this is my first time being on a team and being signed.
Mhm.
So it's like really exciting. It's definitely like a different feeling because your teammates are directly next to you,
Yeah.
and just like seeing their reactions and hyping them up in person is just even a like a
Mhm.
greater feeling.
And I guess, kind of for yourself, how would you feel when it comes to, we look towards lands? In some cases, some of the big lands get, a few thousand good, maybe pushing into the 10,000s of viewers. For yourself, do you think you kind of thrive under that scenario? Or would you feel a bit nervous? How do you think you personally would do?
At first, being on like stream in front of thousands of people
Mhm.
kind of made me a little nervous. But as soon as you get into the game, you're so focused on
Mhm.
the game itself that like everything else is just background noise. Like you don't even pay attention to it. It's
Nice.
not even there. You don't even feel it. And even when we went to
Brush
the
it off.
Philly land,
Yeah.
we were on the stage and there were like a few people watching. Obviously, it's not like hundreds and thousands of
Mhm.
people, but I felt very calm
I
and I
like
kind of
that.
just
Yeah.
imagined myself in my own room like doing
Mhm.
what I do, and I didn't let it like bother me.
So what you're saying is when you're on land, you get the land buff. You feel better. You feel confident.
Yeah, I feel it's really fun. I thought that I was gonna kind of perform worse on land,
Mhm.
but it was pretty much the same for me.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. So we kind of spoke about Xset and the org, what you guys are looking for. Competing in game changers, pushing towards tier 1. But yourself personally, like for you, do you have goals that you've set in terms of some players look to be the top 10 within their scene, or some players look to win certain accolades. What is it for you, or are you kind of just more focused on the team basis?
I feel like I am more focused on the team basis,
Mhm.
and I think it's all stems from me being like the IGL for my team. I want to kind of support my team as much as I can and get us to win as many tournaments I can. And I think my goal is just to better myself as an IGL and get more experience so that we can win more tournaments.
Sure. And how did the IGL role come about? Because I'm right in saying within CS:GO you played more lurking, if that is correct. So you kept moved towards Valorant, and now you're the IGL role. I mean, that's quite a big shift. And the IGL role itself is, I mean, there's a lot riding on your shoulders.
Yeah, it was really funny because I wasn't really always the IGL,
Mhm.
especially when I first transitioned to Valorant. I started playing the game, but I realized like a lot of teams didn't really have an IGL,
Sure.
so I kind of put myself in the position to step up to it. And I was like, "Hey, I'm actually gonna like try an IGL
Nice.
and I'm gonna work really hard to like learn the game and build my game sense for this. And I noticed that I was pretty good at noticing patterns and what the enemy team was doing, which
Nice.
kind of made me a really good IGL. So that it just kind of happened. Like I just kind of stepped up to the role because no one else really wanted
Filled the
to.
gap. You plugged the gap that was
Yeah.
there. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a really good way, I think, to move forward. And how has your workload changed since now becoming an IGL? Because you kind of now have to view the game in a completely different way. This, demo reviews going to come forward. You have to counter and anti-strat teams. How has that changed? Has it added a lot more onto your play?
I feel like it's not that much. I do love watching VODs anyway, and I love watching all the tournaments, but my
For sure.
coach has been very helpful, especially when it comes to like anti-strats and stuff. We like to watch demos of other teams together and come up with anti-strats together. So it's not
Nice.
like I'm doing everything completely alone. My coach is very helpful with everything.
It's good to hear. As long as you don't have the whole burden on your shoulders, I think that's okay. So I
Hmm.
kind of wanted to bring up how Valorant, in terms of, and the women's scene as well, comparing, you've experienced both CSGO and Valorant itself. How good has Valorant been for the women's scene, just generally speaking within esports?
Valorant has been actually really amazing towards the women's scene. I feel like for CSGO, there was always maybe 6 teams that sign up for every
True.
women's only tournament. But for Valorant, the first tournament, there was like 15 teams. And the
Mhm.
next one, there was like 20 teams.
Yeah.
And then the next one, there was like 30 teams. And it's like the scene just continues to grow. I think Valorant is really good at catering to people from other games as well, because
Yeah.
for Valorant, like people came from everywhere. There's like Fortnite people who come, League of Legends player that come. Like Apex players that come over, like it's
Mhm.
just caters to everybody. And I think they did a really good job about that. And they're so good at encouraging women to just get into competing. And it's a very good stepping stone for women.
What is your thoughts on like how have Valorant done? You spoke about kind of they made it very easily accessible, but we speak about the women's only tournaments. Do you think they're one of the real driving factors, but for why Valorant has become essentially the absolute top of the women's scene in terms of it's so accessible, so many people are getting involved in Valorant women's esports. Do you think that's kind of why they made women's only tournaments that have kind of pushed it forward?
Yeah, I think so. I think the fact that they encourage women's tournaments and there's such a big prize pool for game
For
changers as
sure.
well is also really great. There's also the academy tournaments that are really good for players that are a little lower rank who are
Mhm.
kind of scared to get into competing. I think
Okay.
Valorant does a really good job introducing competing to women and just saying like, "Hey, you should try it
Give it
out.
a
You might
go.
like it."
Yeah.
And they're really good at that.
What's some of the things that CS:GO did wrong? Of course, you mentioned you played in CS:GO for a while. You transitioned because there's a breath of fresh air in Valorant. What did CS:GO do wrong? Because I think it's safe to say that the women's scene over there isn't doing great. Okay, granted, now with the new ESL tournament, hopefully we start to see similar shifts. But prior to that, what did they do wrong?
There was very limited amount of like women's tournament, but not only
Sure.
that, like there weren't that many like resources for women either.
Mm,
Like for Valorant, we have like the Galorants Discord,
true.
and that's like really big and very inclusive.
Hmm.
Whereas for Counter-Strike, like there was nothing ever like that. I know some
Yeah.
people try to start Discords to help, but it just never blew up like it did for Valorant. And
Hmm.
it was just so hard for women to get into competing, and the environment was very toxic, I would say.
Ah,
But
okay, that makes a difference.
yeah, for Counter-Strike, like the environment was kind of really toxic, whereas Valorant, they're like really good about it. Like
Inclusive kind of thing.
they're very inclusive, and not only that, they're very on top of bans.
Oh, we love it.
Whereas Counter-Strike is really not unless
No.
you play on Faceit or ESEA.
Hmm.
But Valorant itself, like there's no like, third-party website that you have to go and play on as well. So
True.
I think that also really helps.
Ah, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess we've kind of spoken about what Valorant have done kind of right for the women's scene. Is there any changes you'd like to see to kind of continue the progression and kind of continue the success that the women's scene has had in Valorant?
I think they're doing a great job right now. I think that introducing a Game Changers LAN at the end of the year was a really, really good move for
For
them.
sure.
And I would just love to see them just introduce more lands for the women's scene.
Okay, that makes I think that's a pretty good one. Let's move on to you, right? Let's talk about you personally, your entire life. So, what was it like growing up? What's your story? Where have you come from? All the good stuff. Give us the full rundown.
So I was actually born in New York, but I currently live in Georgia.
Okay.
And I feel like I lived a pretty normal life. I
Mhm.
mean, I didn't really do anything except like I played volleyball for a few years and then I
Nice.
got really into gaming.
Mhm.
So I feel like I'm just pretty normal.
Just standard
Yeah,
life,
just
yeah.
like, yeah, just a standard.
As you do. When did you start developing your love for esports? You mentioned 2017 you went to DreamHack, but you mentioned, Pokemon and stuff like that. I guess to a degree that, there's a competitive edge when it comes to games like Pokemon. When did you kind of really start to think, actually, I really enjoy this?
I always really loved playing games. Ever since I was little, I'd always play games with my big sister and my younger brother, and
Mm.
my mom and dad would always buy us like new consoles, like Game Boy Colors, PlayStations,
Yeah.
GameCubes, everything. But esports, it didn't really click for me until 2017, until I went to my first LAN and I watched them compete, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this is an actual
Hmm.
thing. And I started doing more research into it, and when I started playing Counter Strike, that's when I started trying to keep up with the esports competitive scene.
Sure.
That's when I learned that I really, really like the whole esports
Hmm.
aspect. Everything about it was just amazing to me. So that's why when I went to college, I was actually trying to get my marketing degree so I can get into
Okay.
esports marketing specifically.
Hmm. I think LAN makes a big difference for a lot of people, and I think it's safe to say for those who haven't experienced one, you have to go and check it out at least once in your life. That's when you really start to understand how serious the whole thing is. It's safe to say.
Yeah, definitely. If you haven't been to a LAN or at least like a gaming convention, you
Mm.
should definitely go because the environment is so different. But also being surrounded by people with like the same passion just gives you a
Yes, yeah.
new kind of drive.
Yeah, you mentioned college as well. You were doing a marketing degree. What's the kind of story behind that? Did you complete it or did you pause it to go pro? What was the whole thing about that?
For college, I actually got kind of sick and my health was really bad, so I
Mhm.
stopped going. And then after that, I just kind of focused on content creation because it was kind of the only thing I can do with how bad
Sure.
my physical health was at the time.
Yeah.
I do plan on going back and getting my
Some point.
degree, but for now, it's just on pause.
You don't need to, right? Everything seems so far to be going well. Content creation's on a really good up, and of course, as you mentioned, you're under the Xset banner, so it can pause for now. How in that decision though, I bet kind of for your parents or your family, how tough was that one saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to go full time into towards esports, and I think like I'm the same in that sense. Can I explain to my parents that yeah, I'm going full time in esports? That is it's a confusing one and a tough conversation. How was it like for you?
It was really hard because when I told my mom that I first started streaming, she was very skeptical about it. She was like,
Yeah,
there's
classic,
strangers on the internet, you have to be careful.
classic mums.
And when I wanted to go full time into content creation, she was very upset because she was
Mhm.
like, she's very traditional.
Of course,
So
yeah,
she's
yeah,
like, you
yeah.
have to go get your degree. But I just kind of showed her how much money I was making, how happy it was making me, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Hey, mom, look! Like this is a real path. It's like a real career that I
Mhm.
really want to pursue." And over time, I just kind of broke her down. I just
Just
kept showing her
bit by
like,
bit.
"This is what I want to do." And
Yeah.
as soon as I got science, my mom like was very very proud of me, and I
Mhm.
think she like actually sees this as like a real career now, and
That's
she's
good.
very supportive.
Do you have any tips as well for people who are kind of trying to go full time in esports but need to have this conversation with their parents? Best ways to kind of go about it to kind of lean them in gradually.
Yeah, so the best way that I've done it is like I said before, is just kind of proving to your parents and showing them like how much success and like just the little things, just show
For
them your
sure.
first Twitch paycheck if anything and be like, "Hey,
Right.
like look, I'm making money off of this. Is
Mhm.
this something that I love to do?" And just continuously showing and proving to them that this is like a really big passion.
Yeah.
Of course, like one thing that I do want to say is like you can't get lazy with it because the
For sure.
moment you get lazy with it, your parents won't see it as like a real thing. They'll be like, "You're not serious about it."
Hmm.
So you just kind of have to like grind 100% as tiring
Yeah.
as it is, kind of push through and keep proving to your parents like this is real. This is what I
For
want to
sure.
do.
Yeah, exactly that. And of course, you mentioned already that kind of marketing degree. If esports and content creation kind of at some way down the future, you're like, I'm kind of done with this. Is that something you think you'd fall back into, go get a degree, kind of following that route of that kind of marketing?
Yeah, I would because I really like the back end of esports as well, like the
Hmm.
marketing aspect, everything about it. I actually in 2019, I think, is when I worked at the HyperX booth at
Oh, sick.
DreamHack because I know the marketing team is kind of what runs the booth, and I got a lot of good experience from that,
Hmm.
and it just was really fun. And I would love to be able to travel like they do, and
Yeah.
I love just like everything about esports, like the front end, back end, everything.
I guess there's also, I think, for you as well, as an IGL, you technically have the best skills as a player to kind of transition towards a coach. Do you ever think you'd make that step?
Yeah, maybe in the future when I feel like my aim can't keep up with the Zoomers anymore.
A classic,
I think
yeah.
I would love to be a coach, and
Mhm.
I think I do a pretty good job right now because as the IGL, I kind of notice a lot of things that our team is doing, and I'll
Yeah,
always kind of help our coach kind of point things out as well.
for sure.
I think coaching would be very fun, and I would be very open to it, maybe in the
Sick.
future.
Sounds good. Give me what is a daily routine for you? Of course, you have officials when they come around. You have practice, content creation as well. I mean, you have what seems like a very busy schedule. What's the sort of daily routine looking like for you?
So my daily routine is I like to wake up and I like to brush my teeth. I've been really into flossing lately because
Okay,
I've been
as you
really
do.
into like self-care.
I love
So
it.
I've been
Nice.
really into flossing. I do my skincare
Mhm.
routine. I do my hair and makeup and get ready for the day. I like to fill up my water bottles because it's very important to stay hydrated. Gotta make sure you take care of your
Top tip,
body and your mind so
of
that you
course.
perform the best when you play.
Yeah.
And then I like to get on my PC, check my email, see if there's anything I need to take care of.
Mhm.
And then after that, of course, it's scrims for the next few hours.
Yeah.
And then after scrims, if I'm not too burnt out and too tired, I'll just start streaming.
Yeah.
And then after stream, I'll just go to bed, like get ready to go to bed and everything.
That is a busy day. It's safe to say. But I guess looking over, you mentioned scrims as well. It's kind of one thing I wanted to touch on within kind of the women's scene specifically. Is there any teams that you yourself kind of see as the ones to be? I think you look towards Cloud9 White. I think are a prime one. G2 Kazen over in EU as well. Is there any sort of teams that you see as like the absolute best?
I think C9 White is very dominant right now, and I think they do a really good job keeping their title, and they do a really good
Mhm.
job playing in all the open tournaments to make sure that they're going to be at the
Yeah.
most top level that they can be.
Okay.
Definitely C9 White, but in EU, definitely G2. I've been keeping up with them a lot. I've been watching all their matches, and they're looking like a force to be reckoned with. So.
Pretty good team. Is there anyone specifically within kind of any team that you see as the best player, the best kind of female Valorant player, the one you have to kind of just keep an eye on all the time?
Um, it's really hard to kind of pinpoint the best, but I will tell
Yeah,
you my favorite player
go
is
for it.
definitely C9Y Katsumi. I
Okay.
think she's very talented. She's really insane at the game, and she's also a very big sweetheart. I played a few
Oh,
pugs
bless
with
her.
her back in the Counter-Strike days. So
Sick.
she's amazing. I think
Okay.
she's like someone to definitely look out for.
Bless her. Okay, well, that leaves us to our last younger questions. The ones from Twitter and Reddit, which are all but random, but it's the best way to do it. So we'll start off. So if Valorant was an option, would you be tempted to go back and try and make it within CS:GO now that the new kind of ESL Women's Only League has been announced?
No.
Not at all.
Time Counter Strike has ended. I actually tried to play Counter Strike
Mhm.
like last month with Archstar and my coach Ducky, and
Not
it
good.
was really fun. But I'm definitely not at the level that I used to be at.
But would you not even, let's say if Valorant was no longer at all, would you not, try and go back again, try and grind it out? And obviously, it'd take a lot of time to get back because there's two different games, Valorant and CS:GO. But or is it just completely gone for you now?
I think it's just completely gone for me. I might
Yeah,
go back to like stream it, but I don't
okay,
think
true.
competing for Counter Strike is in any way, shape, or
Yeah,
form like an option for me.
fair enough, fair enough. So for yourself, what is your personal favorite agent to play? No matter kind of doesn't matter about roles, doesn't matter about who your teammates are. If you kind of got first choice every time, what agent would you go to?
See, if you would have asked me that a few months ago, it would have been Phoenix. But now
Yeah,
that Phoenix is kind of outscaled by every other agent,
true.
I would say Raze.
Okay,
Raze is
nice.
really fun to play. I think I used to play Raze for our team for a little bit,
Mhm.
so I really enjoy the way I play Raze.
Nice. Okay, fair. So, who is the best player you ever played with? Doesn't matter if this is CS:GO or Valorant or anything. Who's the best player you've ever played with?
I would have to say my teammate Archstar right now.
High
And I'm not saying
praise.
it because she's just my teammate right now.
Bit of
It's
bias.
definitely, I've always looked up to Archstar, especially
Sure.
when I played Counter Strike and she used to be on Dignitas. I always thought she was like insanely good at the game, but not
Mhm.
only that, she's insanely beautiful. And she just brings so much wisdom and
Mhm.
experience to the team. She's an amazing player.
And how kind of big of a deal is it for you, who you mentioned, going to the competitive side of things? You're a little bit new to it, the IGL role, a little bit new to it as well. Having someone like Artstar, who's played in CS:GO at a high level, and of course then played in Valorant at a high level, so much experience in her name. Kind of, how big of a deal was it for your progression playing with someone like her?
I think it was really good, and it was like really flattering because
Mhm.
Archstar was like, you're like one of the greatest IGLs that I've played
Oh,
with,
bless.
and that like boosted my ego so much, and I
It's a
was like,
huge head off
oh,
for that.
my head just got so big after that. I started working harder.
Oh, that's the praise that you want, though, isn't it? From someone like
Yeah,
that.
no, it was definitely like really flattering, and it's just like kind of mind blowing to me that I get to play alongside the people that I looked up to so much and competing at their level. Like, I still can't believe in myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just like, wow, I'm really like here at this level, like competing against all these people that I used to look up to.
Would you say as well, Arsenal's kind of one of your biggest idols, even kind of before you were teammates?
Oh no, definitely. Definitely. And
Definitely.
without a question. Like, I even told her, and I actually have like a picture with her at Atlanta a couple of years ago, and
Oh,
I used
is
to like
it?
fangirl over her really hard. And I used to tell her, I've told her this. I was like, I cannot believe that I'm on a team with you because I used to look up to you so much. And when I saw her at LAN, I got really nervous. Like, I couldn't
Oh.
even come up to her. It took me a lot of courage to ask her for a picture at a LAN once. And I was like, hey, hi, can I take a picture with you? And I actually posted that picture on Twitter. And I was like, from being Archstar's biggest fan to
Oh.
teammates.
And look where you are now, yeah, on a team of, and of course, hopefully that team can be confirmed soon. We're seeing you compete on the big stages. That's exactly, kind of, that's the progression, fan to player. So the next question, I think it's pretty self-explanatory from what I can see in your background, but has the Squishmallow obsession subsided?
I haven't bought a new Squishmallow, so I mean, I have like a lot, but I haven't bought a new one. So I
Okay,
mean, the
in how
addiction's
long?
kind of subsided in a few months.
That's okay. That's
In a
pretty
few
impressive.
months.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
How many would you say you have in total?
I would say I have around like 50 Squishmallows in total.
That's
Around
impressive.
50.
That is impressive. Which is your favorite?
Yeah.
Do you even have a favorite?
I do have a favorite. It's a cow. I'm actually really into cow Squishmallows because
Nice.
I'm born in the year of the cow. So I have like
Ah,
this
okay.
cow Squishmallow. I think it's like right behind me. Let me
Yeah, grab
see if
it.
I
Go
can
and
go
get it.
go grab it.
If you're not tangled
But
up in your cable, yeah.
yeah, like all tangled up my cable. Where'd he go? Like slide over. I have so many. Oh, there he is.
Just move Baby Yoda out the way.
Yeah.
Hey, there we go.
It's a little cow and he has like hearts for nostrils. And like they all come with like a name and a bio of like what they do, which I feel is just adds to their character a little more.
So for someone like myself who in the UK we don't really see them too much, kind of give me the rundown on what makes them so good. What makes Squishmallows so good? Because I mean I've barely ever seen them in the UK.
So squishmallows are like the softest stuffed animals you'll ever get. That's why they're called squishmallows because they feel like a marshmallow. Like they're
Okay.
really, really soft and really, really squishy. But I
Okay.
think also just them having a little bit of character just
Adds to it.
adds to the appeal.
That is okay, fair enough. I can see why you've got a somewhat slight obsession. I'll give you that one. That's fair enough. So we do actually have a question from your idol slash teammate that are Artstar. She said, if you and your teammates were Valorant agents, what would one of your abilities be?
To teleport because
Teleport.
I do not like driving or walking. I would just love to teleport. Like if I could just be like Omen and just pick a spot that I wanted to teleport to, I would.
Is this like a car sickness thing or just like, lazy? Just like, I always want to get there now.
Oh no, it's definitely laziness.
I'm with you there then. I'll take a teleport as well. Okay, it's another one. And again, you're going to have to explain this as we don't have these in the UK. But what is better, Whataburger or In-N-Out?
In-N-Out. Whataburger is like very popular in Texas, and I've actually tried it. And of course, at Whataburger, I got the Whataburger, and it was terrible. And then all these people started telling me like, "You're not supposed to eat the Whataburger. You're supposed to get like the toast sandwich thing." And I was like, "Why would I go to a Whataburger and not
Not
try
get the
their
Whataburger.
signature burger?" Like it's like going to McDonald's and saying, "Oh yeah, the Big Mac is trash." Like
Yeah.
it
Okay,
doesn't
fair
make
enough.
sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what makes In-N-Out so good?
I think it's like the cost of it too. Like,
What, cheap?
yeah, it's like very inexpensive, very cheap,
Nice.
and it's like a pretty good quality burger.
Fair.
But their fries are horrendous.
Okay, how does it compare to
The fries are
McDonald's?
horrendous.
Because obviously we have McDonald's in England. How does those two
McDonald's
compare?
fries are a lot better, but I would say the burger from In-N-Out is a lot better than McDonald's. So
There
if
we
you
go.
just go to In-N-Out and get the burger, and then go to McDonald's for the fries, I feel like that'd be the perfect meal.
Just mix them together. Boom. There we go. Perfect meal. If I ever come to America, I know where I'm going. In and out. Just
Yep.
play it safe. Play it safe. Okay, so what made you go pro, and of course, what made you so good at the game?
Obviously just like my love for competing and just like the adrenaline rush I get from playing in tournaments made me want to go pro. And for getting to be good, I made sure to like have like a good aim routine
Yeah.
to be more consistent. I spend a lot of time watching VODs, whether it be my own or pros. I keep up with all the matches and I'm always taking notes. I think that's also one thing that people don't do is like they don't take notes on like
Yeah,
why
sure.
these players are doing what they do, why they're reacting this way, all the map control that they're taking. But also another big important thing is to play ranked. When you play ranked,
Okay.
play like you would in a scrim and try to play as proper as you can. But also trying to learn from your rank experience. It's a little harder because your teammates don't really communicate.
Yeah,
So you're just
agreed.
kind of more focused on like your individual skill, your utility usage, just making sure you're paying attention to all that while you're playing ranked is very, very important. I think people think like, oh, to be good, I just need to play as much ranked as
Yeah,
possible,
just
which is
click
like not the
heads. That's
case.
it.
Yeah, you gotta like start learning from your ranked experience, and that's how you kind of get better.
Nice. And you already sort of touched on it, but what advice would you give to sort of new people coming through, wanting to go pro, but don't really know the right steps to take? What would your advice be for them?
I think Twitter is a very big thing in the esports scene, so definitely get a Twitter and work on your brand. Try to stream, try to grind the game, put yourself out there, put your name out there, and play in as many tournaments as you can, whether it be you making a team with your friends or trying to find somebody that needs like a sub and being like, hey, let me play with you. Just get as much experience as you can and just keep putting your name out there because the more you put yourself out there, the more recognition you'll get, and then the much more people will like recognize your talent.
For sure. And I
So.
guess on the just specifically the building brand bit, kind of what tips would you give for people like that? You know, Twitter's a good thing, but they can make a Twitter and then just leave it dormant. What kind of ways would you give advice to people to build their Twitter or kind of, I guess, their social media in general?
Um, for me, I think TikTok really helped me
Okay.
because it's so easy to get discovered on TikTok and you'll never know which one of your videos will just like go
Just
viral.
randomly want to pop
But
off.
also kind of creating a name for yourself, but also trying to make yourself stand out a little bit. Like I know Nosy is known as like the breach player, and then you
For
have
sure.
Ethos, like the Yoru player.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of like create a name for yourself and try to be really as special as you can, like they did. Just find something that you're really good at, whether it be like insane race player, like flights
Okay.
and stuff.
Like find
Just
a
like
niche
being
kind of thing.
really unique and like find your niche and
Yeah,
just
okay.
kind of build on that and
Sure.
you'll like grow your brand really easily.
There we go. And this leads us to our last question. I know you are partner with AimLab, but what is your warm-up routine?
I do have an AimLab playlist that you can
Check it
look
out,
up. It's called
people.
like StarrieBun's warm up.
There we go.
And I do a little bit of grid shot, motion shot, and they do have Valorant specific tasks. And there's a few of them that I actually really, really like. So I'll spend maybe 15 to 20 minutes on AimLab every day. And then I'll open up my game and I'll play 2 or 3 death matches until I know like my aim's really warmed up and it's pretty solid. And then I'll just go into a game and play ranked
There
or
we go.
I'll scrim.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the new warm-up as well? They've changed, the cooldown time to 1.5 seconds. Do you think it's helped or made it worse? What's your thoughts?
I don't think it helped. They were like, oh yeah, we
Yeah.
fixed the spawn locations. And they were lying. But
It's
I
not
think it's
helped.
also because now that the cooldown time for you to spawn is a lot shorter, I think because of that, people are just spawning on top of each other because
Yes.
they spawn so fast. So it's
It's not helped,
interesting.
basically. Yeah.
It's not helped
I
at
think
all.
that's the general
But I mean-
consensus. It actually just made things worse somehow, yeah.
yeah.
It's just more of a shit show every time you go in DM now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they tried. We had to really give it to them. They tried.
They
It
gave
just
it their
didn't
best
work
shot.
out.
Bless them. Well, that actually concludes all of our questions. Thank you very much. I guess this is your open air time. Any shout outs? You can, plug anything you want. All your socials are below, but of course you can feel free to give them a shout out.
Okay, make sure to follow me on Twitter and make sure to follow Xset's Twitter as well to keep up everything that our team is doing. And if you have the time, come watch my stream. Watch me either get wrecked or wreck people in ranked.
Exactly. It is down that direction. It'll be below her head. She can't see it, but we can. Don't worry. It's all good. It's all good. Right below it. It's fine. Well, I've got to thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Of course, we do have some minor tech issues. I'll take the blame for that. But we got it finally done properly. That's what it's all about. So thank you very much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me, and this was a really fun interview.
Thank you very much. And of course, thank you all you lovely people at home for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave all your comments below. Go and check out all of Starrie's, all the socials. They're all right below there. And of course, as you mentioned, go check out Aim Lab. Go Xset, use code StarrieBun. All of the good stuff. All going there. Well, and apart from that, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you all once again very, very soon.